camera, huh? You gonna join me? You can join me this morning. Good morning, everybody. If you haven't been here before, my name is Red Moon Eagle, and you are watching Daily Devotions with Red Moon Eagle, and maybe even with Astra today. She may be joining us. You gonna sit down? You gonna sit down? Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Good girl. Yeah. You gonna sit down? Good girl. Oh, you're gonna sit that way. Okay. Is that what you would like? Okay. I turned it on and then she joined us. So I guess Astra has joined us. I know she's not easy to see. She doesn't always look at the camera. We'll tilt it that way so you can at least see her a little bit. Okay. It's been a couple days since I've done Daily Devotional. So I'm just gonna start in and then we'll see what comes. So the first card is from the Egyptian Gods Oracle cards, and I pulled number 34, Apophis, or darkness. He is depicted as a gigantic python that dwells in the bowels of the earth where the sunlight does not filter through. Apophis is the embodiment of darkness and chaos. Dark enemy of the sun god Ra, bearer of the light, he comes into action in all the stages of Ra's celestial journey in order to obstruct him from dawn to dusk. But the existence of Apophis is necessary for the balance of the world itself. The ancestral clash between good and evil, the struggle between two opposing energies with the risk of no return. Apophis threatens your balance. If you live in blindness, the path you take is opposite to that which is right. Immediately reverse your course and empty yourself so that you, as to become a recipient of forces before reaching the point of no return. This is a really good card. I've actually drawn this card a couple times in the last week because I know, and I've kind of known what that's about. So I'll talk about that in a minute. In the Oracle of Self-Care, we pulled 42, Read. I enjoy expanding my mind. Whether the book is a fantasy or work of nonfiction, reading opens us to new perspectives and expands our minds. Get your hands on a book that gets you excited. Borrow one from a friend. Visit your library. Journal prompts. What is your favorite book to read as a kid, and how did it make you feel to think about reading it now? Interestingly enough, the first book that I became really excited about was called The Girl with the Silver Eyes. And I don't remember the author's title, but it was such a momentous book in my life that I went out and bought a copy of it. I have it still today. It was printed in the early 80s. It's a science fiction children's book. It's absolutely amazing, and it really spoke to me. It spoke to my situation, it spoke to my frustration, and it spoke to my knowingness of myself, of the difference of myself. And reading, interestingly enough, there's been quite a bit of research, neuroscience research, on reading. If you are somebody who prefers audiobooks to paper reading books, they actually go to the same place in your brain. It activates almost the exact same place in the brain when you're listening to an audiobook versus reading with just paper. And if you have one of those wonderful abilities to have an audiobook with a reading at the same time, you can actually continue to stretch and keep rewiring your brain. And that is an amazing active thing for your brain to do. It's fascinating. I love neuroscience. Okay. Animal Spirit Guidebook. We pulled the Phoenix today. The Phoenix, freedom from suffering and past karma reincarnation. The Phoenix represents the transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running from it, denying it, or burning our bridges with rage. The Phoenix employs an advanced techniques described in yoga as the burning of impurities through practice and dedication, the tapas. The essence of Phoenix is with us when we realize we've been suffering too long and something must change. We take a stand and decide to live consciously instead of being driven by the unconscious mind. It's a long list of fears and aversions. At that very moment, the spark of the Phoenix is lit, and the great bird helps us burn through our baggage. We no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, or what we've done. The stuckness and dead weight fall into the ashes, and a lightness of clarity emerge. As the stagnancy continues to smolder, the Phoenix lifts our spirits up and up, and we begin to recognize ourselves again, and we catch the glimmer in our eye that wasn't there before. Look closely, it's a sign of fire, of transformation upon our wings. That has a lot to do with Apophis. We're going to come back to that. And number 30 in the Mystical Shaman Oracle is lightning. Whew. The essence of lightning. The formidable electrical charge of lightning bolt brightens the sky and strikes the earth, accompanied by the mighty sound of thunder. Boom, boom. This phenomenon has a positive aspect. The lightning illuminates the earth and the psyche. But there's a destructive side as well. The bolt can burn, even kill if it's too strong. The invitation of lightning. The forces of the upper world are investing their gathering energies to ignite you with a new inspiration and creativity. Allow this divine gift and the awakening to take root in your being, and enjoy a renewed sense of clarity, passion, and vision. The medicine of this card: life has gifted you with a destiny that is in alignment with your passion and a harmony with all existence on earth. Now lightning has come to jolt you into accepting your destiny. Let this initiation release what is in the way of fulfilling your life's purpose. Otherwise, you'll be bound to your karmic fate. This is a time to be courageous and daring. Pretty powerful. So, this card is kind of a... I'll go back to the others, but I wanted to read this. The medicine of this card. Life has gifted you with a destiny that is in alignment with your passion and harmony with the existence on earth. Lightning has come to jolt you into accepting your destiny. Let this initiation release what is in the way of fulfilling your life purpose. Otherwise, you could be bound by your karmic fate. The upper world is investing and gathering the energies to ignite you and inspiring creativity. Lightning illuminates the earth and the psyche, but there is a destructive side. The bolt can burn and kill if it's too strong. So, I have a confession and a revealing, so to speak. I have been absolutely full of rage for about a week. And I have learned in my almost half a century of life, I guess, that when I get really angry, and I don't mean just angry, I have a hot fire flash type anger. I don't get truly ragey very often. Mostly my anger is on the surface, it's authentic, I burn through it, and I move on. But when I am truly enraged, there's usually something that has been building up. Either one, that I didn't realize was building up, two, that was building up and certain events kind of tipped it. Sorry, Astra. Or there could be a variety of things. And sometimes it's entirely circumstantial. It's just something that I had no control over. But the rage that has been burning and boiling and bubbling up has been because of something that I'm truly very passionate about. And it has to do with my purpose. It has to do with my life's purpose. And stepping into power and stepping into, and I don't mean power like ruling the world power, okay? It's a very tiny way of looking at it. When I talk about power, I'm stepping into the fullness of what I have committed in my blueprint to work on in this life. And it doesn't have to do with me. It has to do with helping other people. And stepping into that power means I have to say what I mean what I say, be authentic, be as real and authentic and yet kind and compassionate. I have to allow my carer theme to be that powerful theme that it can be, and not allow myself to get swallowed by other people's fears, because I know that their fears are not my fears. And honestly, there's not much in the world I'm afraid of anymore. I'm very hot and bothered and passionate about a lot of things, but on the other side of that passion, there is also resignation that some people's journey is just going to be harder than others, and it's their choice. And I can be compassionate, and I can be sad about that, but that does not mean that I'm going to take that into myself. So the oracle card for Apophis is really important in this. So lightning and Apophis. Apophis tells us, Apophis threatens your balance. If you live in blindness, the path you take opposite to that which is right, immediately reverse your course and empty yourself so as to become the recipient of forces before reaching the point of no return. Apophis is the symbol of the balance of light and dark, the actual dance between shadow and light. To have shadow moving into light, moving back into shadow, and moving into light. You have to, when you walk in purpose, when you walk with integrity, with authenticity, with discernment, with energy and movement forward, with harmony, with intensity, with divine connection, with understanding all of the possibilities that could come out of choice, and with understanding the patterning. With you, when you walk with all of it, you walk in the shadow light, and you accept that all of those pieces matter, and your participation requires the ability to navigate all of the shadow of light as you move forward. And Apophis says, hey, don't get caught up in one side or the other. You have to keep it moving. And that's one thing that I've been working on this week, is that rage, that absolute rage that I have. I've been working on it. I've constantly been moving. I have gone on walks, and I've worked in the garden, and I've talked a lot, and I've drawn, and yesterday I had a day of stillness, because even in movement, when you're working through deep feels, you have to have stillness with that, and stillness is still moving. So one of the things I found myself yesterday doing is I had 5 or 6 little things that I did. I cooked a little bit, and then I wrote a little bit, and then I did some Pilates and some breath work. I moved a little bit, but it was a day of stillness. I didn't go out of the house. I didn't go on a long walk. I allowed myself, anytime that agitation came up, I allowed myself to feel it with every cell of my body, because it's important that I have to find and accept all the pieces of where that rage came from. I have to let all of that go out and then come back in. Anger is one thing. Rage is a totally different thing. Rage is where people end up hurting people. Rage is where people end up getting hurt, killed, murdered. Big things happen with rage because rage is very big. Lightning can be very big. It can be extraordinarily destructive. And yet, lightning, like rage, when you see it up in the sky, can be a beautiful thing. So rage has to be allowed to flow, and all the pieces of what makes rage, that shadow light journey, there's no reason to be afraid. And I remember a time when I was terrified of my own rage. And I don't actually remember when it actually happened, but I do know that somewhere a decade or so ago, I realized that rage was healing. It was also a range of emotion. Rage has actually, to me, a component of sadness and disparity. It has a component of desperation. It has a little component of fear, and a component of disappointment. And it's got a component of confusion, a large component of confusion, usually for me, a component of confusion that could be maybe even a little bit of shame, that confusion of why is it so big and should I be feeling this big feels? And where is it coming from? Right? Where is it coming from? Because I'm not an empath. So not being an empath, I know it's not coming from someone else. I'm not absorbing someone else's emotion, but it is a big energy thing. Rage is a very big energy thing. Animal Spirit Guidebook gives me another clue, right? Phoenix represents the transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running from it or denying or burning bridges with rage, which I have totally done that. I have taken that rage and salted the earth behind me. Totally done that. The Phoenix employs the advanced technique described as burning of impurities through practice and dedication, the tapas. The essence of Phoenix is with us when we realize we've been suffering too long and must change and make a stand and live consciously instead of being driven by the unconscious mind and its long list of fears and aversions. At that very moment, the spark of Phoenix is lit and a great bird helps us burn through our baggage. We no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, and what we have done. Stuckness, dead weight, fall into the ashes, and a lightness and clarity emerge. Phoenix is the key to all of this rage. Yesterday was my Phoenix day. Yesterday was burning through the last bit of it, and that moment of stillness. Something I've learned with my rage is that I have to let it flow. I have to let it move. I have to keep moving. Anytime something seems to be added to that, a log on the fire, somebody's feeding the fire, right? That I have to let that burn. And I have to maintain self as best I can without smearing it everywhere. I can't say that I haven't, and I own that, but I acknowledge that it was happening. I acknowledge that when you're in a big feels, when I'm in a big ragey place, all the empaths around me are gonna suffer from that. And I always apologize for it because it's not their fault. I own my feelings. I own what triggers it, and I own my feelings. And Phoenix was yesterday for me. Phoenix was letting it burn completely to the ashes and taking a day of stillness and going, aha, what is it that really happened? I have to own my shit before I can do anything about moving forward, moving with the shadow and the light. And the other thing with this is to own my own purpose, to own my own stuff means I have to own what it is that has led up to the rage. What have I done or not done that led to that? What is me and what is somebody else? Where is the edge? Where is the edge of my own stuff and what triggered that? And I have to get to a place where it's burned all the way out and I've burned through all the rage to be back into a place of, if I look at that circle 8 of shadow and light, I've gone through the whole cycle a couple times. Well, I'd say at least 3 or 4 times every single day over the last week, truly since last Monday, to a point where I can be in that middle place of travel, and I can sit in the middle place. And what do I do with that? And that's where I'm at today. I'm in that place of recognizing, okay, are you coming back, Esther? Do you want to come back? Come on. Come on. She keeps looking like she's going to jump over. Yeah. So I have to be in a place where I can be that phoenix where I have burned through all of the rage. I've burned through all the cause and effect and positive and negative. And I can be in a place where, yes, we're sending out into the world, Astra. I can be in a place where now I can say something, now I can do something, now I can confront and be out in the world in a healthier place and hopefully stand in my power and hold everybody else accountable for theirs. Because one of the things that happens with rage, with big feels, right? Whether that be big sadness or big rage or frustration or anger or whatever it is you have to go to the bottom of the well of your own feeling. Where is it hiding out in your body? I also recognized with this rage experience that what the series of things that triggered all of it also are things that are generational and ancestral traumas. And every time I go through a cycle of big feels, I work through more and more of that to release it. Because I can't do what I'm supposed to do. I did not come here as an entity to live a meat suit experience to stay trapped as my ancestors have been trapped. I didn't come here to not do the heavy lifting. I came here to do a lot of work, and I can't do that work if I am also carrying every single one of the burdens of all of my ancestors and not releasing that and not working through it. And sometimes those big feels aren't mine. And part of this rage wasn't mine. Part of it was somewhere in my ancestry, and I had to work through it. I had to let it out. I had to get it out. And that requires me being honest. It requires me facing it. I can't get distracted. I can't let something be a tool for distraction. I can't. There was a moment yesterday, interestingly, where I had my audiobook on, and I found myself realizing I wasn't listening to it. My mind was in this other place of almost like a memory reliving, almost like a fictional story. So there were two stories going on. There was one in my head and one I was listening to on the audiobook. And I turned my audiobook off and I let myself just kind of go into this mental place. I was cooking or cleaning or something. I was doing something here in the kitchen. And then it kind of petered out and I went, that was interesting. I couldn't even to this moment tell you because I didn't write it down. So I don't really know what that story was. I don't know what that memory was that came out. But I realized that it didn't belong to me. In that moment of, that's weird, there was also a moment of, that didn't belong to me. And some of that knotting that was causing that rage was gone. It just, like a ball of string that has been unknotted. And it lifted. It was able to lift up a little bit more. There have been a couple times over the last week that I've gone for a walk, or I've been so ragey that I've dug in the dirt and dug up stuff, or angry cleaned, rage cleaned, and whatever it was that was knotted in lifted up and out. And being uncomfortable with feeling is part of healing. If you are not healing through that discomfort, you're burying it, you're shoving it off to the side, and you're not allowing your physical body to let it go. We store that stuff. We store that in our cells, we store it in our body, and we share it with our children and our family and the people around us. And we had a big thing happen in our family Sunday night and into yesterday, and my husband has a lot of big feels right now. And the irony is that my working on all of my rage over the last week and yesterday being able to take the time to work through and release and use that Phoenix energy to burn through that last little bit gave me the capacity to hold space for him with his big feels yesterday. And if that event that had happened in our family had happened when I always look at the universe as this amazing thing that has it's amazing, the timeliness and the interconnectedness that we all have with each other, and everything has purpose and everything is divinely connected and divinely designed. Because if I had had that same rage a decade, 2 decades ago, and we had had the same thing happen in our family, that would have been a clash. That would have been a harsh intersection, and we could have hurt each other both very deeply. But instead, I had released so much of that rage that I was able to hold that capacity. And he came in with his big feels, and I was able to honor that. And I can't take his big feels from him, but I can give him and honor the capacity. Through my own release, I was able to have more capacity to hold and be in a place of honoring for him, so that he didn't feel like he had to hide or hold his emotions in or not feel supported or loved or listened to or whatever it is. And when we don't deal with our own shit, if you don't deal with your own shit, if you don't deal with your own light and shadow journey, you do not have the capacity to help anybody else. You can't fix it for them, well, which is not a thing anyway. You can't ever fix it for them. But you can't hold grace and capacity for someone else. And then your shit starts to seep in and become muddled with their stuff. Whether you're an empath or not, that happens. Even the most energy sensitive person who doesn't have any empathy at all, myself, knows that if I don't deal with my shit, I can't be there for someone else. Or I can only be there for someone else to a certain point, and then my shit bubbles over and they are not given their space, and other people need their capacity held too. I have been very blessed in this journey over the last week. I've had several people be able to hold space and have capacity to help me work through that rage. And some of these people, I will honor them with the grace and the love and the compassion of knowing that at least 2 of the people that have been helping me are people that in the past I have had the ability to have capacity and hold space for them. And when I needed it, they were able to give me a little bit of their space and their capacity without or with the acknowledgement that I don't want them to take it from me, because that's not anybody's job. My job is not to take your shit from you. And if you try pushing your shit onto me, I will not take it. But I also expect you not to take mine. And these 2 individuals specifically were very good at holding their barrier, holding their capacity. And when they filled up, they were done. And they honored that I was holding my own and they were just sharing that capacity. And that is what we do for each other, is we hold capacity for each other, we hold space for each other, but we don't take each other's shit in. That's not healthy. And it's very hard for empaths sometimes to learn that, but I've been very lucky. I've had 2 empathic energy sensitives in the last week that have been very good about being able to have the capacity to listen and yet not try to take it from me, but help me own my own. And that is the best thing that we can do for each other. I still have decisions to make. I still have things that I need to do, because now that I am past that huge rage, I have let Phoenix burn off the big part and I have come to a place of equilibrium again. I can probably do something about it. And rage is an amazing thing, because recognizing last week as it was building and realizing that I had come to a huge fireball of rage, that realization was, oh, I've been here before. I know I don't want to salt the earth because I've done that before. And yet I also know that I'm in a totally different place. I have not experienced this rage, this big a rage, since before since before the dark time. I have gone through a lot of emotions since the dark time. And y'all have seen it, y'all have watched it, you know, like my daily devotion's been up for a while. But this big one, this was a big one. And this big one has not happened since before the dark time. And that means that I am in a different place. I have learned new things. I have experienced a whole cacophony of different shifts. I've walked through several timelines in the last 4 years. And so I knew that this was different, but I didn't know how. And I knew I had to journey through it and let it happen to know what's on the other side. And this is the beautiful thing about walking your walk authentically in your journey through being disappointed in yourself and the fear of self, being disappointed, being honest and integral to who you are, being authentic, being yourself without getting swallowed up by somebody else, following the energy, moving forward, and trusting that it's going to be okay in harmony and in equity, knowing that you have this amazing ability to focus, knowing that we are all divinely connected and that the possibilities of other people's choices are their choices and yours are your own, and that we are all interconnected in this web. Knowing all of those things, the words are important there. Knowing all of those things means that rage, that container of my physical body that held all that rage, was able to move through all of those cycles over the last week. And in moving through it, dissipated the rage and found the core, the nugget, the little kernel of the lesson. And that kernel of the lesson is a place of joy. And that place of joy of realization that what Anubis has said, or Apophis has said, which is there is a balance. There is a shadow and light balance. And that stepping into my power is something that everybody can do. Everybody can step into their power. And there is a place of bliss in that power that isn't ego. There's no, oh, look at me, I've done the thing. It's the place of true peace, place of peace, place of capacity, place of power. It is as best that we can come in the human form to neutrality, and it's beautiful. And 7 sleeps from the trigger of the rage. And now I have 2 more sleeps to go before the full cycle is complete. And I don't know why I know that, but I know it's important. And the deeper the feels, and the more somatic release that happens, the other side of this, I don't think, from what I feel, I don't think that this rage will be anything that I have to go through again because I've released so much of it. So when you're truly angry and you're going through feels, I think the biggest lesson of today is go through the tapas, allow your body to release, go to the bottom of all of the emotion, and know that Apophis, it seems scary, but it's not. It's a balance of shadow and light. And lightning is a powerful force, and it seems to strike randomly, but there's purpose. There's always purpose, and there's always a lot of energy and feeling. I'm not an empath, but that emotional energy is real, and we all have it, and it can be a beautiful thing to work through. I wish you a beautiful day. and many blessings. And I think Astra's done. She's kind of looking at me like, hey, Mom, we got things to do today, which we do. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I will see you in prayer. Blessed be.